I pledge to the Bitcoin community that Bitcoin is going to the moon, the Bitcoin superpower of the world.
Let's go back to Halloween night 2008. An anonymous developer drops Bitcoin on the world. He wrote a paper that details how Bitcoin works, how it's an entirely new kind of money, one that isn't controlled by a government or any bank, one that is powered and controlled by the people of the world. This is a game changer. Unlike this, no single company, person, or country controls Bitcoin. Not you, not me, not Elon, nobody. This is because Bitcoin is decentralized. It doesn't have a central owner or manager. All it has are the millions of people who use it and own it. Bitcoin can be used as a currency, an investment, or just a way to send money across the world fast and cheap. But how can there be no one person or entity controlling Bitcoin? How can we just trust that it'll keep working? This is where blockchain technology comes in. Imagine a giant public notebook. In this notebook is every Bitcoin transaction ever. $20 sent here, $50 sent there. Each new transaction is written down. Eventually they fill a page. A page is called a block. But before we go to the next page, this page must include a very special stamp. Now these stamps link any given page to the next page. On and on and on, page by page, in a giant chain. So all the blocks, pages, are linked together. The stamp proves that the pages haven't been altered. So if someone tried to change an old page, their stamp wouldn't match anymore, and this would break the entire chain. And that's why Bitcoin's notebook stays secure. Now you might be wondering, who has the power to add to the notebook though? Like, that person must have a ton of power, right? And this is where it gets exciting, because anyone can. You can. Here's how it works. People volunteer computer power to get the chance to add a page to the book. If they're chosen to mint a new page, they are paid for their contribution to the network in the form of Bitcoin. This is what Satoshi invented, a digital currency for everyone that needed no central authority to thrive. It just needed users. It just needed the people. But little did he know how big this would become. January 3rd, 2009, the first Bitcoin block is minted, kicking off what would become the greatest financial story of the century. There was something hidden inside the first block of transactions though, a special note from Satoshi. In this note, he hinted that Bitcoin is a direct response to our failed financial system. This was during the Great Recession. May 22nd, 2010, 10,000 Bitcoins are used to buy 2 pizzas. This is a milestone as it's the first significant use of Bitcoin as real money in the real world. It's also the most expensive pizza order in history. 10,000 Bitcoin, that's worth like $1 billion today. At this point, Bitcoin is beginning to be known and debated both for and against. People who were for Bitcoin stated that this was the first digital currency that actually worked, that it can't be shut down, that it can't be controlled. If you didn't trust the banks and you wore a tinfoil hat, Bitcoin was for you. On the against side was a bunch of people doubting this would ever be adopted, saying that criminals would use it to launder money, which of course they did. And then we get 2011. Bitcoin is slowly growing. The price reaches $1 per Bitcoin. People are seeing the value. This was a huge milestone. But then something would happen that became Bitcoin's signature move. It pumps to $31 and then dumps down to $2. 2012, the first Bitcoin halving ever hits. And you're probably wondering, what is that? Well, it's another great idea that Satoshi had that he built into this creation. Remember when I said mining is the process of validating transactions, creating that page of the book? And if you're chosen to mint that block, that page, you're paid a small fee in Bitcoin as the miner. Well, Bitcoin halving is the process that happens every 4 years that reduces the number of new Bitcoins that are rewarded in mining. So if 4 years ago you got $10 for minting a new page of the book, minting a new block in the blockchain, now today, 4 years later, you're getting $5. And that happens every 4 years through time. This means the currency becomes increasingly scarce. There is less supply released into the open market, which is important because it makes it immune to inflation. You see, unlike the US dollar, which increases in supply every year, thus reducing its value, Bitcoin becomes scarcer with each halving, making it more valuable. Historically, each halving has led to a price surge in Bitcoin because simple supply and demand. If demand remains the same for an asset, but the supply is cut in half, the only direction price can go is up. 2013, Bitcoin meets the feds. The FBI shows up, takes down the Silk Road, which is this dark web website where people use Bitcoin to buy drugs and other fun things. This isn't the best for Bitcoin's reputation, but it proves this currency works for buying drugs, but you get the idea. Proof of concept, you can buy stuff with it. Around this time, more arguments were emerging. People in countries with terrible currencies like Venezuela were using Bitcoin to protect their savings, but with the whole Silk Road story, Bitcoin had earned this criminal association that still hasn't shaken. 2014, the infant Bitcoin and cryptocurrency industry faced one of its biggest challenges, an exchange collapse. Mt. Gox, the exchange that was handling 70% of Bitcoin transactions at the time, collapsed, taking hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin with it. Once again, we learned that Bitcoin and crypto is volatile. There's risk here. 2017, Bitcoin civil war erupts. While Bitcoin is growing in popularity by a massive degree, some of the community decided it was too expensive, too slow, it was old tech. Arguments blow up, and from it, Bitcoin Cash was born. A new version of Bitcoin forked from the code. A great idea, but it never really amounts to much. Bitcoin leaves it in the dust. December 2017, Bitcoin pumps again, this time to $20,000. And can you guess what happens next? It crashes. A lot of people chasing the hype get wiped out. This will be a recurring theme over and over again through history. More arguments emerge. Bitcoin's scarcity and insane growth in value give it the nickname digital gold as a store of value. But its detractors point to its pattern of pumping and dumping and question how this could ever be a stable currency. These people will love what happens next. 2018, Bitcoin crashes, down 80% to $3,200, a huge blow that has many people just shouting and screaming that the currency is dead, it's a scam, it's for dummies. How little do they know? May 2018, Bitcoin experiences its third halving. This means more scarcity, less mining rewards, and potential price increases. October 2020, PayPal gets into the Bitcoin business and the price goes nuts. PayPal announces that they'll start allowing Bitcoin transactions. This gives millions of people easy access to Bitcoin, and it's the first step in legitimizing crypto within the traditional financial system. Around this time, the ideas that underpin Bitcoin become more and more widespread, and despite voices saying that it's worthless, that it's for criminals, the underlying ideas or questions at the heart of Satoshi's invention start changing how we think about money and who controls it and how it should function. Those questions were, does money need a central authority to work? Because governments just print more fiat whenever they want, and they tend to just keep causing inflation, which hurts everyone's wallets. But Bitcoin has a fixed supply and a built-in scarcity, so no government can create more. It's inflation-proof. Who wouldn't want that? Number two, does money need a bank to run the transactions? Because traditionally, banks control money transfers. So they can block whoever they want and whenever they want. They're the middleman. But Bitcoin can be sent without permission to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Who wouldn't want that? Number three, can money be borderless? Money transfers traditionally take days, or with increasing geopolitical tensions, your country could just be shut out of the SWIFT system, the international money transfer system. But sending Bitcoin takes minutes and can be done from anywhere in the world at low cost. No one can tell you not to do it. Who wouldn't want that? Number four, do we have to rely on terrible national currencies? In the US, we harp on inflation a lot, but in countries like Venezuela, inflation has destroyed people's lives, wiped out their savings, all because the government was a poor manager of their currency. Bitcoin empowers people with a way to store and grow the value of their money in a way that isn't under the threat from their local government. Who wouldn't want that? Hindsight's 2020, but it's no wonder that with questions like these being answered by Bitcoin, it just started seeing more and more adoption. Now we're seeing companies like MicroStrategy, Block Incorporated, and MassMutual completely gobble up supply and really take in the idea of Bitcoin. In April 2021, Bitcoin pumps again to $64,000, a huge record. But the good news here doesn't really last long because China bans Bitcoin mining, sending the price into a nosedive. You wouldn't guess it, but the famously authoritarian China is anti-Bitcoin. President Joe Biden also signs a bill later in this year regulating crypto. And they can't even stop it, because November 2021, Bitcoin climbs back to a new high of $69,000. People begin to believe that Bitcoin's going to go even higher, and they're right, but not yet. 2022, another exchange collapse. This time it's FTX, kicking off a bear market that drags the price all the way down to $15,500, but not for too long. October 2023, Bitcoin climbs as rumors of a Bitcoin ETF build. An ETF would help legitimize Bitcoin and make retail investment easier than ever. As the world grows more uncertain, Bitcoin becomes seen as a way to protect wealth. But actions from China and the Biden administration convince some that Bitcoin's days are numbered. Those people are wrong. January 2024, the Bitcoin ETF is approved. Price action advances from nuts to bananas. April 2024, Bitcoin continues climbing to its fourth halving, but instead of exploding even further, the price doesn't take off immediately. It's almost like it's waiting for November 2024. After a long campaign filled with crypto and Bitcoin promises, Trump wins the US election, sending Bitcoin's price surging towards $100,000 like a freight train. Trump is seen as the herald of pro-crypto regulation and a Bitcoin golden age. He also talks about a Bitcoin strategic reserve. December 2024, Bitcoin hits $101,000 and has a larger market cap than silver. Early 2025, Trump takes office, releases a meme coin that goes up and then tanks, rattles Bitcoin's price with news of tariffs. Bitcoin dips to around $95,000 and then goes up and down, back and forth again. People are uncertain, but one thing is certain. Back in 2008, nobody would have guessed that Satoshi's quiet invention would transform money the way it has. He created a currency that has no sole owner, no controller, is largely immune to inflation, is safe and secure, and exists on a verifiable ledger that anyone can read. He took the concept of currency and gave it to everyone. And in doing so, he created one of the most valuable, fastest growing assets of all time. And nobody knows where it's going to go next. But if the past 16 years tell us anything, it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon.